In the very early days of digital photography, before consumer digital cameras were within the price range we could afford, I was using film and either scanning them myself via a Canon film scanner or sending the images off to Kodak, who provided a much higher resolution scanning process at the time. Back then, it quickly became apparent to me that shooting colour slides, which is what I've been doing for years, was now not the right way to go. They were too contrasty, and the scanning process, even Kodak's scanning process, didn't cope very well with the detail from the shadow areas of the slides. And by the way, the images I'm putting up on screen are from around that time. So I changed my approach to shooting images completely, and I started to shoot colour negative film, which I then had scanned by Kodak. Now I did this because colour negatives had far less contrast than colour slides, and they scanned better. I could always add as much contrast as I liked in Photoshop, but if I had too much contrast, as I would with colour slides, there wasn't a great deal I could do about it. Around this time, while using colour negative film, and when the first digital consumer cameras become available, I also discovered that if I squeezed as much light into the film or into those early sensors that I possibly could, that also helped the film to scan better, and it also helped any manipulation from those early digital cameras. Now, the modern term for this is called exposing to the right. If we look again at a histogram, and remember that the light tone pixels are all represented by the section of the histogram on the right, you can see where this name comes from. For years I referred to my technique as squeezing as much light into the sensor as possible, but without allowing it to go too far and burn out the highlights. This is now called exposing to the right. Now, there are good common sense reasons for exposing to the right. Generally speaking, we can darken our digital images far easier than we can lighten them, and that retains quality, detail, and gives us more control. It makes the editing easier. Now, there is one downside to exposing to the right, and we're getting an example of that here. The thumbnails you view are going to look pale, insipid, lacking contrast, colour, and therefore appeal. We just need to ignore that. We just need to look at the image in relation to the histogram and be aware that all the qualities we want are within that original file. And this one here represents about 30 seconds of work. So there are some very good and practical reasons to expose to the right. And when we look at our original thumbnail here, although it does look pale and insipid and lacking in impact, if we look carefully at the sky, we can see that we've got no burnout of the highlights, and we've got no blocking up of the shadows. So that gives us enormous scope when we get to the PC to post-process the image. Now, what you'll find once you start manipulating images where you've exposed to the right, squeeze as much light into the sensor as you possibly can, but without going too far so that you lose too much highlight detail. What you'll notice is after a short while you'll forget all about how the thumbnail looks, and when you view the thumbnails you'll be viewing them in a different light. You'll be thinking about what you can produce, not how they look at that particular moment. If we're going to use this technique of exposing to the right, squeezing as much light into the sensor as we possibly can, but not going too far, we need to know where the line is, where we are about to go too far. How we tell that? Well, we'll cover that in the next video.